Jim Harbaugh was looking at the NFL, kept the team together, had to
Was he
hire new
though?
coordinators. He was. He was. Whether the NFL wanted him or not is a different conversation. He was looking hard. He was ready to make a move, and they didn't want him. So he's got to come back, got to keep the locker room intact, which he did. He's got to hire new coordinators, which he did. He's got a quarterback controversy with the guy who led him to a Big Ten championship, went over Ohio State, led him to the college football playoff, and he's going to go with the young guy. He did that. He's got to replace Hassan Haskins in the backfield. Blake Corum's been phenomenal. He's got to replace all those guys on defense I mentioned. Defense
Yep.
has been really good. If it wasn't for Brett Bielema and how Illinois is the 18th ranked team in the country when people did not expect them to be that, Jim Harbaugh would be the coach of the year in the Big Ten at this moment.
I don't disagree with you. And here's where I give a tip of the cap because I'm kind of an old school football purist. The one thing that you mentioned at the beginning is Penn State's recruited to compete with the new age. Let's be athletic. Let's spread things out. Let's play matchup ball, speed, sideline to sideline. Who can
Yep.
stop all that?
Yep.
And to your point, you said Michigan turned back the clocks, but I think Michigan just kind of went back to the grassroots of football, which at the end of the day is if I could turn around and hand it off for 3.5 yards every single freaking play, I'm going to
You do it.
increase my chances of winning the football game because I'm just
You
going
do
to
it.
march down the field, first downs every 3 plays, and just keep it going. Like you're going to do it. And then everything else on top of that is just icing on the cake, right? But the fundamentals of football is controlling the football, being physical at the lines of scrimmage, and they've done that. And like, I don't think no matter how athletic and how cool and gimmicky football gets, I don't think that's going to go out of style. If you
I
can
agree
do
with you.
that, if you can do that, like do it. And that's where I give my tip of the cap to Michigan is like at the end
Yeah.
of the day, man, they're covering the very, very, very basic grassroots of the game, and they're doing it really, really well. And on top of that, they're at a place where they can recruit some of the best talent. So we don't even know where it's going to go from here,
Yeah.
right?
And I'll give you some context to what you just said. So Michigan ran the ball 55 times out of 79 plays that they had in the game. They averaged 7.6 per carry, which is a ridiculous number. And you mentioned the time of possession. There
Mm-hmm.
were almost 42 minutes in that game. So what that does is shortens the game. It gives less opportunities to the other team. And they are demoralizing the other team in the process of doing what they do. So I'm with you. I listen, I played linebacker at 6'4",
Yeah.
255 my whole career. So I'm an old school fucking guy. Like that's what I want to do is
I'm
I
with
want to
you.
play rock'em sock'em football. So I am totally here for what Michigan's doing right now and the way that they're winning games. But it
Mm-hmm.
is the antithesis of what college football is right now because you look in the SEC and you got a game where it looks like the Big 12, 52 to 49, whatever the score was of that game. That's what college football has become at the highest level.
Yeah.
Michigan's saying we're rewriting that narrative. We don't have to go out and do that. We can win the game playing it old school. This is vintage Jim Harbaugh, the way that he likes to do it. And quite frankly, I'm totally here for it because they have the personnel and the mentality to get that done every week.
Correct. And if you do it, and here's the thing, like here's going to be the real kicker is if they make a college football playoff this year, which again, like not going off on a tangent, I've made an argument that the two best teams in the SEC East and the two best teams in the Big Ten East are probably going to be in the college football playoff, but that's a whole
I'm with
nother
you.
story. I know
It
you
is.
are, but that's a whole nother story. If they can come in there and like show up, not turn the football over, obviously is a big part of this, and do what they do up front. I don't care what you got. Put Tennessee out there, roll USC out there. Well, I don't know about
Yep.
USC anymore, but roll the best
Well,
offenses you think, high power
right.
offenses you think out there. Roll them out there. If Michigan can possess the football, like no chance, no
Dude,
chance.
I've seen
You have
I've
no
seen this
chance.
story too many times because Lincoln Riley had all Baker Mayfield and he had Jalen Hurts and he had Kyler Murray. They couldn't get it done. Ohio State, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud last year, Dwayne Haskins before that, they couldn't get it done. I'm with you. Is the high flying offense, I believe, is important. But when you have a team that is complementary, you can run the football when you need to at
Mm-hmm.
will, and you have a defense that can hold up their end of the bargain. That is a team to me that feels more like a championship team. Go back to Georgia a year ago. They had a quarterback who did a good job. People call him a game manager. I think he's a lot more than that.
Oh
Run
yeah,
game, that did a really good job, and they had the best defense in college football. They won a championship. There is a reason that happened. So I'm totally with you. All right, we're spending a lot of time on these
That's
recaps here.
fine.
Let's get
That's
into
fine.
some storylines here. Big storylines. We kind of went through what's wrong with Penn State.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of skip over that because I think mostly it is we didn't talk a lot about the offense, and I think Sean Clifford gets a bad rap because that offensive line was not what it was supposed to be. And I'll get you the stats here. They had 111 rushing yards, but 74 came off of Sean Clifford's big
Yeah.
run, essentially. And so you got Singleton and you got Allen and those guys who we all thought were great. They had 19 for Singleton, 16 for Allen on 6 runs. They had to get away from the pass game or run the game, excuse me, because you had to throw the ball when the game gets out of hand. So they got some issues. We don't have to get into that. What we will get into is Michigan the best team in the conference today?
Even with this win, like I'm not quite sure. Like I still think Ohio State can carry that crown the way that they've played week in, week out. No scares pretty much other than Notre Dame, and they've handled business. And yeah, Notre Dame hasn't come into it, but that's the first game of the year. A lot of hype. Jackson Smith and Jigba goes down. Ohio State's been winning it without arguably one of the best football players in college football.
Yeah.
Playing. Like they've been dominating. So, I know that sounds kind of like, and Michigan fans are going to hate it because they beat Ohio State last year and they played in the Big Ten championship game. But still, like I feel like it's just really hard to beat the history of this. Now, Michigan goes out and keeps it rolling and does the same thing they did last year to Ohio State and wins the Big Ten and goes in and wins a game in the college football playoff, plays in national. Like you guys are in it. Like 2 years in a row, you showed yourself you're in it, right? You got a chance.
Right.
And I'm not saying that I'm not bashing them, but I still think Ohio State at this point is the team to beat in the Big Ten. Michigan, though, for all the reasons we've mentioned, and I think we've been very complimentary of Michigan for two people who've played at schools that aren't very fond of Michigan. We've been very complimentary of Michigan. So Michigan, for this point, up until this point, I'm a believer in the direction that they're heading, and I really, really think that this year, as much as I thought last year was crucial, I think this year is a really big year for Jim Harbaugh, and if he can continue this trend, I think you got 2 players in the Big Ten East now.